What is up, guys? Tripping back. We got another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys on how to build my auto sorter that also has a auto smelter as well as a auto crafter. Now, before we get started, there's a couple things to keep in mind here, and I'll show you that when we actually build it. Also, you don't have to have large furnaces when you build it. You can use electric furnaces, and I'll show you guys on all that. But I'm gonna give you guys a quick rundown and show you how this works here. So basically, you got your drop boxes here. You can have as many of these as you want or as little as you want. Doesn't really matter. So the way that I have this demonstrated here, these would be like the roof, this would be your open core, and then this would be a compound. Obviously, you would connect them all up into a combiner here. Obviously, if the drop boxes don't reach this combiner, obviously you just add more combiners until you can actually reach it and connect it. And then you go out of this combiner, up over into here. This is going to be your splitter tree for your super sucker. Again, when I build it over there, this is obviously an option. You do not have to have this. Basically, this just pulls the items out of the drop boxes faster. So this system here is set up for 18 conveyors. So this is going to pull the items out 18 times faster. You can have as many of these as you want, as little as you want. It does not make a huge difference. If you guys don't want this at all, no big deal. I'll show you how to build it without this. So once it goes into this combiner, or splitter tree, sorry, it's going to go into every single one of these conveyors here, back into these combiners, and it's going to come out of the combiner, follow the green line, and it's going to go into this combiner. Now the reason that we have this combiner here is because this is set up for all your drop boxes, which is the green line, and we also have one for our ores and one for our auto crafter. And then all these are going to go into the buffer boxes here, and this right here is all of our buffer boxes. If you guys do use the super sucker and use the 18 model like I have here, I would highly recommend that you at least have 6 boxes. 8 boxes would be ideal though. Basically what happens is anytime you put items in your drop boxes, it's going to pull the items out faster, but then it's going to store them in these buffer boxes until it actually gets sorted. And I'll give you guys a demonstration on how all this works after I show you on how all this stuff works. So, and then out of the buffer box, it's going to come all the way up over here into the splitter tree here. And this splitter tree here is for the actual conveyors of all the items that's going to be sorted. Now keep in mind, when you do this, the amount of splitters you have here is going to depend on how many conveyors you have over here. And this is going to depend on how much items you're actually getting sorted here. Now the way that I have it is I got my ammo getting sorted. And my guns are getting sorted. Every single piece of clothing has its own box here. Obviously you don't have to do that. You could have your ammo go into your guns box, and you can have all of the clothing just one big section, not one box for face mask, one for chest plates, etc. I got all my components. I got my electricity, my medical stuff. So I got my low grade. This would be cloth, I believe. Low grade, and then this all the med stuff there. Got my metal frags, and I got my high qual. Obviously, you guys can link all this together, and you can link all of your medical stuff together there. Tools, your food, your scrap, all your wood. You got all your sulfur and all your boom supplies in there as well. And lastly, you got all the charcoal there. So again, it's gonna come out of these splitters into your conveyors, and from the conveyors, it's gonna go into your boxes here. Now, the way this also works is, as you can see, I also have large furnaces here. So anything that gets put into the drop boxes that's an ore is gonna come into the ore box. Come out of the ore box into this combiner tree here, and it's gonna get looped around, so this just pulls the items out a little bit faster out of the box there, and it's gonna go into here. And the way that this is set up, it's gonna detect if there's any ores in the box. This middle one detects if there's any wood in the box, and this last one is just set up so then you know how much ore and wood goes into the actual boxes over there, and that's why this is set to 12. So basically the way that this works, anytime you drop ore into the drop box, goes in the ore box, it's going to detect if there's any wood or any ore in there, and then it's automatically going to get smelted into here. And the way that it gets detected is because of your filter pass and your filter fail, and it all links up to the timer here, and it detects if there's anything in the ore box, and then it automatically turns those on. If there's nothing to be smelted, when their ore is done, it's going to shut the furnaces off, and it's gonna get taken out of the electric furnaces. Again, these can be electric furnaces, and I'll show you how to do that. And then it comes all the way back up into this combiner, and it also has a thing set up for your auto crafter. So I have it set up for meds, which means I got a line that comes out here for the low grade. There's gonna be one for cloth, but I forgot to put cloth in the sorter, as well as your metal frags. And then all those come out. It's gonna come into a combiner again. So whatever items you have that you want to get auto-crafted, you just put in the combiner. You run it all over here. And then I have it set up for 1,000 of every item that's gonna be put into this small box underneath the tier 3. It's gonna come out of this small box into this conveyor, which is the exact amount of stuff that you need for the actual med, into the crafter, out of the crafter into this conveyor, so it takes the stuff out of the auto crafter. So it's gonna pull just the meds out of this, and it's gonna send it back into the buffer box over here. Essentially, that is the entire system here. I'll give you a quick demonstration on how this works here. So for the sake of this, let me just get a bunch of sulfur, and I will get some components. So let's just throw that in here. As you see, I put all this in here. It gets taken out of this box faster, and it gets taken over here. And this is basically like a buffer box, which is exactly what it is. As you can see, these furnaces turn on because it's ores being smelted. Once this is all smelted, it's gonna come back over here, and it's gonna come into these boxes over here, which it's already got taken out, and it's getting taken into the correct boxes over here. And that is basically the quick rundown. Let's get into how to build it now. Alright, I'm gonna show you guys how to build it now. One thing to keep in mind though is this super sucker is optional. You do not have to do the super sucker, as well as this furnace system here for the large furnaces. You can either build it with large furnaces, or we can build it with electric furnaces, which I have it set up over there, and I'll show you guys how to do that in just a minute. So first things first, we're gonna come to our drop boxes. Basically, what we need to do is daisy chain all of our drop boxes together. So for example, let's just say you have these inside of the compound and these are inside of your open core. Obviously, they're not going to daisy chain together. So if they do not reach for whatever reason, and however far they are, what you need to use is a industrial combiner. It's not going to go in my inventory because I have too much stuff here. But basically, what you need to do is use a combiner, and you just put it into any one of these inputs and output into the next drop box. You do that until obviously you can have all of your drop boxes daisy chained together. And for the sake of this, I'm just gonna get rid of this just so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. So you're gonna daisy chain your roof one, your open core, and obviously your compound into one of these, alright? So preferably wherever you guys can find to put this, they are gonna be daisy chained together. You're gonna come out of this into your super sucker. Obviously, this is optional, and I'll show you guys in just a second on how to do it without. But for now, I'll show you guys how to do it with the super sucker. So again, out of that combiner into the splitter tree here, and this is just gonna split this line for the super sucker. This is gonna vary on how many conveyors you have for the super sucker. You can have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, or if you want to be crazy like me and go overboard, you can obviously do 36. Now, keep in mind though, when you guys do this, you are going to need a separate circuit though. Which means you're going to need a circuit for the super sucker and the sorter. So that's going to be one circuit, and then you're going to need another circuit for the furnace. Or not circuit, sorry. You're going to need a separate windmill for each of these. So your super sucker and your sorter is going to be on one windmill, and then your furnace system is probably going to be on another. The reason being is if you have all this connected to one, there's a chance that your system's going to constantly turn on and off over and over and over. So again, if you want the super sucker, that's one thing to keep in mind. Obviously, you don't have to have it as big as this either. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, you're going to go from the first splitter, and you're going to branch off into these two here. I've already done this to save a little bit of time. From these two, we're going to branch off into these three here, as well as these three here. And then from this first bank into this one, the second bank into the next one, and so on and so forth until you have all of them connected, depending on how many you have. The output of every one of these conveyors is going to go into a combiner. As you can see, I already did that as well. So this first line is put in this one, the second line is in this one, and the third is in this one, and so on and so forth. And then you combine these three into this one, these three into this one, and then you combine these two into this one right here. And then you're going to go out of here, so out of the last combiner, and we need to run this. into another combiner over here. The reason being is because this one is going to go into our actual buffer boxes here. And the reason that we have this, like I said earlier, is because we have an auto crafter and an auto smelter. Now, I'm going to show you guys on how to do it if you do not want the autos or the super sucker, alright? So if you do not want the super sucker, what you're going to do is come out of your drop boxes, and we are going to hook this into this line over here, which goes into the buffer box. So again, if you do not want the super sucker, you go straight out of the drop box into this combiner, from the combiner into the drop boxes here. Alright, so keep that in mind. Next up, we need to come out of the buffer box, just like this, and we need to go to our splitter tree for all the conveyors. Alright, so for the sake of this, I'm just going to go up over here. Actually, I'll make this a little bit easy so you guys can see what I'm doing. Into the splitter tree. Now, I know this is a lot of splitters as well as a lot of conveyors. All this, like I said earlier, is going to depend on how much of your items you're actually going to be sorting here. Again, all of your armor can be in one section. You don't have to split it per section, like face mask, chest plate, kilt, hoodie, pants, boots, gloves, and all that good stuff, you know. You can just have one section for all your armor, one for all your weapons and your ammo, and all that stuff like that. This is just how I do it, so just keep that in mind. So, once you have your buffer boxes put into this splitter tree, you just branch these off again into a set amount of splitters to accommodate for all of your actual conveyors. As you can see, I already went ahead and connected all these into here, and then you go out of all of the conveyors into your set amount of conveyors, or sorry, you go out of the splitters into your conveyors. Alright, and from all of these, we need to go into all of our boxes, and for the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and do the wood one and the ore one to save a little bit of time so you guys see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to come all the way down and hook it into the wood box here. Again, obviously make sure you go ahead and you set all your filters. I'm not going to do that. That would just take way too long. And like I said earlier, I am going to hook this into the ore box here. Obviously, it's not going to go into the actual ore box. It's going to go into a combiner and then into the ore box. The reason being is because if you use the large furnaces here, you're obviously going to need wood to go into the ore box to keep the large furnaces fed. And that's what we're going to come over here to do right now. We're going to come out of the wood box into this next conveyor. And this is going to be set to wood, just like this. And the maximum amount you want to take out is 1,000. That means that for every box of ore that you have here, or every ore box, I have 4. It's going to put 1,000 wood. So since I have 4 ore boxes, that's going to be 4,000 wood. So it's going to be 1,000 in this one, 1,000 in this one, 1,000 in this one, and 1,000 in this one. Again, that's going to depend on how many ore boxes you actually have. So if you guys farm a lot, obviously you're going to want more ore boxes. If you guys don't farm that much, obviously you're not going to have that many. But normally I find 4 ore boxes to work just fine. From this wood box now, we need to take this line and we need to run this all the way down and into this combiner that goes into the ore boxes here. Now this is going to be the same whether you use large furnaces or if you use electric furnaces. You're going to do the same thing here. The only thing you're not going to do is the wood box if you use the electric furnaces. Alright, so if you do not use the large furnaces, obviously just go from your ore box into the actual electric furnaces over there, and I'll show you guys on how to do that in just a minute. So for the sake of this, we're going to start with the large furnace system here. We need to go out of the ore box into this combiner, from this combiner into the splitter, and we are going to daisy chain this in a loop, so it pulls the items a little bit faster from the box. I'm not sure if this got patched. I'm not 100% sure, but I do it no matter what. And then we need to go from the second output into the top conveyor, and this is going to be all of our ores. As you can see, I already have that. There's no set limit because this just detects if there's any ore in the box, so that's why that's set like that. And the output 1 of the first conveyor, or the first splitter, sorry, is going to go into another splitter, and we need to connect these to these other 2 conveyors here. Now the second one is going to be set to wood with a mass value of 12. So it only puts 12 in here to smelt all the items. And the next bottom one is going to be for all the ores with a max value. So for the metal, it's going to be 11. Sulfur is going to be 22. And high quality will be 6. From the wood one, we need to connect it to this combiner, as well as this bottom ore one connected to the combiner as well. From this combiner, we need to run it into all of our large furnaces here. So depending on how many you have, just go ahead and put it into the storage adapter to data chain all these together. As you can see, I've already done that. From the last large furnace, put it into this conveyor here. And if you have it set to all the smelted items here, so obviously you're going to have metal frames, sulfur, high quality, and charcoal. And this only has charcoal because obviously we're using the large furnaces. Again, if you use the electric furnaces over there, which I'll show you in a minute, obviously we do want to have the charcoal in there. We're going to come out of this conveyor though, and we need to run this back into all of our buffer boxes. So we need to come over here, run it into this combiner, back into the buffer boxes. Alright, that is how you hook it up for the large furnaces. Obviously, we are going to have to go ahead and wire this, and I'll show you guys how to wire this right now. So, obviously, you guys aren't going to have a test generator. I'm just going to use a test generator to save a little bit of time rather than using the windmill. But, this is just how I'm going to do it. So, from the windmill into your battery. So, just pretend that this is the battery. Obviously, going to have a windmill. You are going to come over here, put it into the power in. We're going to daisy chain these 3 together. From the last one, or however you do this, we need to take this, come out, and we need to connect this ore one here, or the output of this one, sorry. From this last one, we need to come back, and we need to connect it into our timer here, alright, just like this. Now this timer, make sure you set this to 0.25, just like that. I know you guys can't really see the time because the crosshair is in the way, but set this to 0.25, alright. You're going to take the output of this timer into your splitter here. And we're going to branch these off into here. Obviously, this is, again, going to depend on how many large furnaces you have. I normally use 8 large furnaces, so that's why I have it set up like this, right? And then from these splitters, we need to hook it into our igniters. So, again, do it just like this. Obviously, if this doesn't reach, you're probably going to have to use a memory cell, and this is send a signal. So that's all that hooked up. Now we need to connect all these conveyors. So to the filter pass of the top one is going to go into the turn on of the wood one. The filter fail of the top one is going to go into the turn off of the second one, which is the wood one. And the filter pass of the wood one is going to go to the toggle on of the timer. There we go. Had a brain fart there for a second. And then we can go ahead and turn these on. Obviously this middle one, even if you turn it on, it's just going to turn it off because it doesn't connect that there's anything in there. So that is the entire large furnace system hooked up. Now I'm going to show you guys on how to do it if you use electric furnaces. So like I said earlier, if you're going to use electric furnaces, you just go from your ore one, your ore sorter, into the ore box here, out of your ore box, and we're going to go into this conveyor. This is going to be set to your ores. That way it knows to take the items out of the ore box. If you do not have this conveyor in here, it's not going to take anything out of this ore box, and your ore box will just overflow. So just remember, if you use the electric furnaces, you have to have this conveyor here. We're going to go out of this conveyor and into our electric furnaces here. We can just go ahead and we can just daisy chain all these together, just like this. And from your last one here, obviously you don't have to have 6, you can have more, you can have less, doesn't matter. But from your last electric furnace, we need to go into another conveyor. And this is going to be all of your smelted items, so your sulfur, metal, and high qual. And from this conveyor, you're going to run it all the way back and into this combiner here. And this combiner again is going to go back into your buffer box. Now we need to hook all this up for electricity. So again, you're probably going to have solar panels or windmills for this system here, but they're going to go from your power source. Obviously, it's going to come all the way down hook it up into your power in, and your pass through is gonna go into the top one. Branch these off like this. Oops, I did not connect that. And then take these, and you need to turn these to your power on. Obviously, you gotta turn this on though, and then you turn it on just like this, and you connect all these, and then obviously turn them on, and that's how you would do it if you use the electric furnaces. Alright, now that we have it figured out if we are gonna use the super sucker or we're not gonna use the super sucker, as well as if we're gonna use light furnaces or electric furnaces, what we need to do now is make sure we have all of our combiners hooked up to our splitters here. Once that is all hooked up, I will show you guys on how to do the auto crafter now. So, like I said, for this, I'm just going to pretend that all this is hooked up. Obviously, I'm not going to take every single one of these and hook them all up. So for the auto crafter, it's going to depend on what items you want to have into your auto crafter. I'm just going to have meds. So, for me, this would be my low grade. Take it from the output. And we're just going to go like this. I'm just going to run it kind of sloppy here. And we're going to run it into this combiner here. So that's my low grade. This one will be my cloth. So again, it's going to vary on what item you actually have sorted in the what. Like that. And then obviously this would be my metal frags. So let's take this line as well. And run it into here. So this is my low grade cloth and my metal. And we're going to take that output. And we are going to run that all the way over here into this one right here. And this is going to be set for your cloth, low grade, and your metal, or whatever items you're actually going to have for your auto crafter in a box. So if you want to have the stuff for your gear sets, obviously that's what you're going to have in here, right? So from this now, we are going to connect it into this box. So again, whatever items you want to have pre-crafted, so for me it's going to be meds. I'm going to have my low grade cloth metal in here, and I'm going to have 1,000 of each one of those into this box. So it's always going to have 1,000 cloth, 1,000 low grade, and 1,000 metal frags in this box here. From this box, we need to go to this conveyor now. Now this is going to be whatever item you're actually going to have crafted. So if I'm going to have the med in here, I need to have the set amount to craft that item. So it's going to have 10 cloth, 10 low grade, and 15 cloth, I think it is. Well, or whatever it is to craft the thing. I'm too tired to think of what it is, but... So for the med, you're going to have 15 cloth, 10 metal, and 10 low grade set into here. Again, this is all going to vary on whatever item you're actually going to have into your auto crafter. So whatever you have in there, figure it out, it's going to come out into the actual auto crafter. And make sure you put the blueprint in here for whatever item you're actually going to have crafted. So if you're going to have the med be auto crafted, make sure you have the med blueprint in this craft. Otherwise, that's not going to work. From the output, we need to go to this last conveyor here, and make sure you have this set to whatever item you're going to have crafted. So if you're going to have it set up to craft AKs, make sure you have this last one set to AK. Otherwise, it's just going to pull every item out. Or, again, if you're going to have med, make sure you have this set to the syringe. Once that is done, take it from the output, and the output of that is going to go into this combiner again, which again goes back into the auto sorter. Well, technically it goes into the buffer box and then the auto sorter, but that's basically the rundown on how to build that. Again, the super sucker is optional. You do not have to do that. And the large furnace system is optional. You can have the large furnace or the electric furnaces. Last but not least, we are going to go ahead and we need to wire all this all together. So I will show you guys on how to do that right now. So again, this is going to be a separate windmill into a battery. But for the sake of this, I'm not going to do that. And we need to take the output of that into the super sucker. Obviously, if you have the super sucker, you're just going to go ahead and daisy chain all these together. I already did that to save a little bit of time. Make sure you turn all these on, obviously. And we're going to go from the output of this all the way over here into our next section here, which is obviously the auto sorter itself. From the auto sorter, we need to take this and we need to connect it to the wood one. From the wood one, we need to connect it to the auto crafter. So obviously, again, just gonna daisy chain all these together. and make sure you have it into the turn on. Again, that's going to be everything all powered together. Make sure we turn all these on. But one thing to keep in mind though is if you do not have the super sucker, obviously you go from your battery to the actual auto sorter itself, and then you just daisy chain it. So again, that's how you hook everything up. If you guys do have questions, I will leave my Discord in the description, so you guys can ask me questions and I can help you figure this out a little bit easier. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.